Well.
Joe, please stand and join us for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Welcome everybody here to the Board of Supervisors meeting this November 28th. It is 9-ish. Do we have any changes to the tentative agenda? I have none. Next we have meeting department heads and elected officials. Angie Vaughn, safety.
Good morning. All's well. I don't have a whole lot to share, so.
All right. Get new glasses, Angie? You gotta
I
get funky
broke
about it.
I broke my other
You
one,
broke
so.
them? All right. Ken Heinman, emergency, what is that?
Mental
Whatever
Health
you-
Agency of Southeast.
Whatever the
Iowa.
heck you are. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so, not a lot to report today either, just things are going well.
All right, well, glad things are going well. Natalie Steffner, Recorder's Office.
Good morning. Just business as usual also, nothing to share.
Okay. Lisa Schaefer, County Attorney's Office.
Controlled chaos.
All right, just what we expected to hear.
Controlled.
Woo! Keep it under control, friend. All right.
Do the best.
Rodney Blaisner, Maintenance.
Good morning. Winter's here, so you guys come in this weekend, do some clearing of the snow this weekend, so just another reminder though, especially this time of the year, during the day, it kind of warms up, things kind of melt off, and then by the end of the day, when people are starting to go back to their cars, things start freezing up. So just be careful. If you see those spots that look wet, they may be icy as well, so just keeping that in mind, but other than that, really nothing new to report.
Colin Gerst, Ed.
Just chugging along like always, keep busy, nothing new to report.
Okay. Jared Lassiter, Land Use.
Okay, pretty much have the same thing, just keep them busy as usual, but we don't have anything on the agenda today. We have a minor subdivision coming for review here shortly, but apart from that, really nothing noteworthy apart from just the usual process. So.
Chris Lee, Conservation.
Join us at noon on Friday for the ribbon cutting, grand opening of the addition to Hickory Bend. Been working on this a long time, we finally got it all closed out, ready to go, so we're gonna do a ribbon cutting to celebrate that 19 acres that we just added to Hickory Bend right along Flint Creek, which is known habitat for endangered species of bats. It's a public hunting area, and if you're a member of the hunting community, wear your camouflage or your blaze orange for the photo op. The purchase was made completely with sportsman dollars from wildlife organizations and the Habitat Stamp Grant, which is from hunting license sales, so kind of a cool deal there. And then sign up is open right now for winter camp. Our Nature Center staff is hosting a winter camp during winter break for kids, and so want to put your kids in that, get them signed up. I think it's already maybe a third or half full, so that's right after Christmas.
You're gonna have hot chocolate for that ribbon cutting? It's gonna be cold out there.
Yeah, maybe I should. I just try to do that.
Throw in a
Build
cookie
big
or
fires.
two, will you?
Huh?
Throw in a cookie or two.
Yeah, all right. You got it.
Okay.
Did I see Gina Harden somewhere?
No, but
She was here, but Shannon's here.
if you meant Shannon Prado,
Shannon is here.
emergency management.
Well, all right then. Shannon from Emergency Management.
Hi, nothing exciting to report, thankfully. Just business as usual.
For those of you who haven't met her, Shannon Prado is going to be the new emergency management coordinator. She spent a little time with Gina before Gina retires, and the Emergency Management Commission is very excited to have them on board, so
Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did I call you CP? Krista Poggemiller, Health Department.
Good morning. Things are moving along at the new public health site. It definitely looks like they're making progress there, but other than that, I don't have anything new to report.
Kristen, I do have a question for you. There's been a lot of stuff on the internet about Pfizer, COVID booster shot causing, blood clots. Is there anything to that you've got from the feds?
Yeah, I've not seen anything about that. I think, remember when we had the J&J and there was some concerns with that? There was research done on it.
Yeah.
The problem always is, or the thing that you see with COVID vaccines, the boosters, those things, there's not really research you can go back to. It's like the research and the studies are happening at the same time as they're rolling out this new vaccine. So I think, as it moves forward, we'll see more stuff come out. But, yeah, I've not seen anything from the state or anything come across.
So then they still recommend if you got Pfizer to start with, use it, not the Modine or anything like that, use the same one?
So the CDC recommends that, that whatever vaccine you started with, to continue with that, but it's not required. So, but that's always been the recommendation. If you start with Pfizer, stay with Pfizer. Again, it's not required to do that. Moderna is also a choice.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
From the auditor's office, Finance Director Cheryl McVeigh.
Sarah's out today, she's ill, so you're stuck with me. And we're just busy, crazy busy.
That's an understatement.
It's about that time of the year, so it is what it is, right? Moving on then. Gentlemen, any correspondence?
You gonna ask Mr.
You
Clark?
missed?
About Brian.
Who did I miss?
Brian
Carter.
wanted
All
to-
people-
I still
all
have
people
papers.
were-
There we go, purpose.
That's Steve.
Can't believe
Brian
it.
Carter, County Engineer.
Is that out of order?
Brian Carter, County Engineer.
Good morning. Along the lines of what Rodney said, obviously we got some snow. I appreciate the guys coming in. I don't think anybody expected as much as we got, to be honest with you, from what they were talking on forecast wise.
How much did you get in the northern part of the county?
I'd say 4.
Wow.
Would be what I would say. So, it was, if anybody was out, it was surprisingly slick. It came down as kind of a powdery, dry snow, but it was wet underneath. And, I slid by a lot of gravel road intersections. If you tried to stop, you just kept on going. So our guys were out. Truthfully, we had the pavements whipped by 9 or 10 o'clock. So the guys were back in and going. We did bring the blades in briefly too, because of those gravel road conditions. We just ran around, hit hills. That's really all we did. We focused on that. It was getting pretty sloppy in the afternoon, so they were out of here by 1. But again, I do appreciate the guys coming in. A little unanticipated for the amount. Really didn't expect to run blades, and we weren't even sure if we were gonna have to run trucks. So they had things ready to go. And we do have a truck or 2 down, but that was all right because we were missing a body anyway. So it worked out. When you get these early snows that are wet, then you warm up to 40 during the day, it gets sloppy and stuff. We've already got people that have called about rock. We're not hauling any rock this time of year. Our trucks all have snow plows on and we're ready to go. It's just the nature of it. Just like Rodney said, you warm up, it's 40 degrees. Well, that's what you gotta do to melt the snow, but for a little bit, that gravel road's gonna be kinda sloppy too. And it's just kinda the nature of it. So they froze back up nice and solid last night, and sounds like we'll be rid of the snow after a couple afternoons when it warms up. But anyway, so that went okay. It's always good to get a first run, but that's not 12 inches of snow, so you can figure out what hydraulic hoses aren't gonna be good and stuff like that. And I think in general, we held up really well. So credit to the guys on the maintenance side of it. As you guys know, we've got 4 bridges that we're working on. 2 of them are the replacements for the ARPA funds. I don't remember if we had this the last time, so we did get a verbal that we're going to get our final core permits sometime in the next 2 or 3 weeks with signatures. So having said all that, those are set up for a January letting here locally. I don't remember the exact date, I'll tell you. I wanna say January 11th, but I can double check that. We have not mailed them out yet. We're waiting for the final plans from the consulting firm. They should be in this week. If I get that cover sheet that you guys normally sign this week, I'll probably come find you guys individually and get your signatures so that we can get those in the mail. We're not letting them until January, but I wanna put them in plan holders' hands ahead of the December DOT letting, so that local bridge contractors, or at least the ones that would work in this area, can see that there's work coming. That way they see what's coming ahead of that December DOT letting. Just trying to put us in position to get as good of bids as possible. So that's in the works. We have 2 other bridges that we're actively working on, although I don't think those will bid until later on next year. But they're just bridge decks. I've never seen environmental permits take as long as they're taking on just simply replacing a bridge deck. So what I'd like to say is if Chris just bought 19 acres, where the endangered bats like to live, I hope they all congregate there and stay there. That would be spectacular, because they're an absolute pain in the ass when it comes to getting environmental permits. So,
Sorry, I guess I was the only one that enjoyed that.
anyway, it's just mind-boggling to me. I was under both those bridges twice to verify that there were no bat evidence underneath the bridges. So, we're safe, we're not displacing any bats. And the guys are working on a culvert. Told you we're gonna keep going as long as the weather would allow, and I'm sure they're dressed warm, but they've got a road closed and we're replacing the culvert today. So there's plenty of stuff going on, and we'll just keep on keeping on.
You wanna hang in there for that snow, because it snowed on the 26th, according to my grandpa and all these old timers, that you get 25 more coming.
Somebody told me that yesterday or the day before, and all I can say is I hope your grandpa was wrong.
Okay, I hope you're wrong.
But, we'll see. We'll be ready for whatever comes along.
I'm gonna count them this year.
How many years have you said that?
You don't wanna know.
But if we get 25, I think you're gonna owe Grandpa an apology.
Yes, I will. So, anyway, yeah, otherwise plenty of stuff going on, but, that covers what's going on right now.
Right on.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Did your grandfather ever explain the math of that to you?
No. But I'll tell you what, my grandkids listen to what I tell them, so I listen to what my grandfather told me, so
You just-
every family might be all screwed up, you don't know.
Give Tom about 30 seconds. He's working out the figures in his head right now as we speak. So, moving on. Gentlemen, any correspondence?
I have none.
All right, that brings us to discussion and vote. First, we have payroll claim reimbursements in the amount of $373.18. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. I almost said Sarah Marie. Cheryl Mack.
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Jim Carrey.
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yes. Next we have 5B, which is an appointment to the Compensation Board. To Des Moines County Board of Supervisors, I'm interested in serving the remainder of a 4-year term on the Des Moines County Compensation Board as representative for the county supervisors. The term will expire in July 2026. Is Robert Hessler, 205 South Main Street, Danville, Iowa.
I think Robert would make a great addition to that board. It's, there's not much thanks, and I hope Jim didn't have to twist your arm too hard. It hurts. We better quick pass this before he get motion to approve.
Can I get a second?
I have to second, I twisted his arm.
It's been moved in second. Robert says ow. Let's vote on it. Cheryl Mack.
Tom Broker.
Yes.
Jim Carrey.
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yeah, before he says no.
Congratulations, Bob.
Thank you, Tom. We appreciate that.
Okay. Does your arm hurt? It says ow. But anyway. It is greatly appreciated. Thank you, sir. And next, 5C, we have a Hope Haven update, and Cheryl Plank is with us today.
Yep.
Well, thank you for allowing me to come for a few minutes and talk. You guys have been such great supporters of Hope Haven for many, many, many years, it sounds like. Go back a long way. But we are now Imagine the Possibilities. We did have a full merge, but in this region, we will still be referred to as Hope Haven, a division of Imagine the Possibilities. We started partnering with Imagine the Possibilities a year ago for our finance department because we could not find an accountant to come work for us. And we struggled, and I reached out to them. I worked with them in partnership of other things over the years, and they were willing to contract with us for that. And it was just a good relationship, worked out well. And so, as everybody knows, finding staff has become more and more difficult. And so we thought, in working with our boards, that this would be a good partnership, since our cultures are very similar. We provide the same services around the state. And so we decided we would do that merge. And they've merged with several other agencies over the years since 2016 when managed care came to Iowa. They realized they were a very small agency and realized that there was no way they would survive managed care. As many people know, your rates don't get increased very often, and so they've grown from being a very small $3 to $5 million organization by combining with others to now adding Hope Haven to them will be an almost $70 million organization. And the plus to that is we share our back office stuff. But our day-to-day, what you see in the Des Moines County area, Lee, Louisa, and Henry, clients are not gonna see a change. The services will be exactly the same that they've had. We have the same staff, not a single staff person lost a job through this merger. But the important thing is we wanna continue to partner with the Board of Supervisors. We have 2 leases with the county for our services. Those services will continue. And so we wanted to just make sure we have that direct contact with you, since we haven't been here for a while to talk about it. So I'm willing to answer any questions you might have about that.
Any questions for Cheryl?
I have a question. We want to thank you for what you do, because when they have their annual dinner, everybody ought to go see that. I missed it this year. They really need to see the smile on these people's faces and that. It's heartwarming.
And we will continue the annual dinner. There are a couple staffing changes. April Van Hammy, who's been with Hope Haven for 20 years, will now be the regional executive director. And I was the CEO of Hope Haven. I'm no longer the CEO because they already have a CEO. And so, but I'm staying on, and I'm the Chief Strategic Advancement Officer.
I'll say, you gotta read the cards here.
So I am part of the executive team, so I'll still be helping make decisions for this area, but also for the broader area. So I'm super excited about that. I did bring business cards, if anybody would like a copy.
We might take 3 up here.
I already gave one.
I've already got, yeah.
Well, then, 2. Thank you, Cheryl.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Do you guys need one on your table? You
Yep.
got one? All right.
Anybody else want a card?
Anybody like one of Tom's cards? Got his phone number.
We got his number.
Everybody's got my number.
Got that right. Anyways, Cheryl, thank you so much for coming down. And again, I want to echo what Jim said. We appreciate the services that you guys bring to Des Moines County, that you guys have always been brought to Des Moines County. So thank you for that. Thank you for coming down. If you want to leave, you can leave. You don't have to stay.
Don't have to stay.
No, you don't.
It's fascinating, but.
That's why we have 5 people that like to watch.
Thanks for the
And Robert, if you want to get down with them,
Side
you
of
can.
Yeah, don't have
Thank
to
you,
stay.
ladies.
Bless you for coming down.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
All right, next we have personnel actions. I have 6 for the Sheriff's Department and 3 for the Correctional Center. So we'll do the Sheriff's Department together, and then I'll do the Correctional Center. Okay. The six for the sheriff's department are, one is Keaton Hoshek, he's a deputy, and it is his 36-month step increase, and it's his anniversary. He's moving from $63,918.55 to $67,282.72, effective 12/28/23. We have Blake Cheeseman, he's a deputy. It's the same deal, it's his step increase, but it's a 24-month step increase. His rate is from $60,554.40 to $63,918.55, effective 12/28. We have Brett Hobrick, I believe so, that's his name, from the sheriff's office. It is 74.77 hours. It's a 6-month increase. His previous rate is from $50,462.01, and his new rate is $53,826.17, effective December 28th. We have Clay Foster, who's a deputy from the sheriff's office. It's his 6-month increase. His previous rate is $50,462.01. His new rate is $53,826.17, effective December 27th. We have Monica Ryan, who is a clerk 2. It is her 36-month increase. Her previous rate was $37,616.91. Her new rate is $38,369.21, effective July 1st, 2023. And then we have Monica Ryan, clerk 2 from the sheriff's office. It is her 42-month step increase. Her previous rate is $38,369.21. Her new rate is $39,136.63, effective December 1st. Can I get a motion to approve all 6?
Move to approve all 6 of them.
Second.
Moved in second. Cheryl Mack.
Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Tom Broger.
Yes.
Shane McKean.
Yes.
Kevin, lady, you come in here and just make sure we sign these, didn't you?
Yes, that's what I'm here for.
As
soon as you're done, I can leave.
Before I do the other 3, do you have anything you want to share?
I
I know you're at the radio show doing your thing, but anyways, you're here now.
Yeah, so there's a lot of community events going on. We had the holiday parade this past Saturday. That was an amazing event downtown Burlington. Always neat to see how many show up for that. This weekend we have the Toys for Tots drive. That's in large part put on by the Hamilton Walters Marine Corps League, so a big shout out to them and all the community members that make it all happen, because it's really them that bring out the toys and give the donations. And we'll be out at Westland Mall from noon to 7 on Friday, 7 to noon on Saturday. You can stop out and see us. Marine Corps League will be out there, a lot of sponsors will be out there. We'll have Tank and our deputy Dylan Beard will be out there with Tank from 4 to 6 on Friday. So it's a good time to stop out with the kids, and you can say hi to him. He's a dog that you can get down and play with and actually be around. So
Is Tank gonna be giving out autographs and 8x10 glossies, or?
yes, yes, we'll have those all available. So, yeah, stop out and see us. As far as news at the jail, we're at 87 this morning. I think we had 15 out of county. We still are moving pretty well through those lists for residential facility and the prison. So, we're just kind of hanging around that 80 mark.
Okay. How's the radio deal goes?
It went good. 2 radio stations right next to each other, and talked for 5 minutes on either one of them, and in and out of there.
Anybody ask for your autograph before you left?
Not a one.
I just figured I'd check.
Is that why you're at a tie?
Just trying to impress you.
So did it work, KB?
He looks good.
All right. Our sheriff is looking good. Document that for the record, Sheriff.
I expect to see that in the minutes.
We've got three more. We've got three more personnel actions. These three are for the correctional center. The first one is for Kenyatta Rooks, my fault. She's a correctional officer, and she's a rehire for part-time. Rate of pay is $18.52, and her effective date is December 1st, 2023. So welcome back there. We have Jared Tate, a correctional officer, also a new hire. New rate of pay is $42,706.67, effective date December 12th, 2023. And then we have Patrick Ogorzalek, something like that. Patrick O. And he's a correctional officer, and this is his anniversary. So he's got an increase from $44,915.05 to $45,908.66 effective December 8th, 2023. Can I get a motion to approve all three?
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Cheryl Mann.
Tom Broker?
Yes.
Jim Carrey?
Yes.
Shane McCampbell?
Yes. And finally, we have the minutes for the regular meeting on November 21st, 2023, and they've been approved. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Cheryl Mack.
Jim Carrey?
Yes.
Tom Broker?
Yes.
Shane McCampbell?
Yes. Okay. Gentlemen, do we have other business?
I have none.
Future agenda items? Okay. Committee reports. I had community action, and we're re-upping on the diaper grant program. We gave away like, I don't know, $9,000 in diapers or something last year, but we're rolling back through again. We just had a new employee orientation. We welcomed 26 new employees to community action and different jobs, but some of them were for the school. Then we also had local donations that we received. We received $4,155 for the pantry, $4,812 for community needs, and $298 for Head Start. We appreciate those donations, and we encourage people to continually give. The needs don't stop. So that's about all I've got there. James?
I had an early childhood, and things just go about the same, and they're moving right along, but we still don't know how our funding's gonna be until we're kind of in the same predicament Ken's in, you know, with mental health, and I think they're gonna try to regionalize it like everything else, so we won't know anything until July of, they're talking 2024, but more likely it'll be a year down the road after that.
That's where things are going. Thank you, James. Thomas?
Didn't have any.
Okay. Did anything interesting happen to you though, Thomas?
I had Thanksgiving.
All right then. Then let's move on to public input. We would love to hear from you. If you have any input right now, you can call us at 319-753-8203 extension 4. Again, that number is 319-753-8203 extension 4. You can call us right now, or you can email us now or at any time at board@dmcounty.com. Again, that is board@dmcounty.com. You can email us, and Tom really loves to get the emails and the phone calls. So, Tom, you want to give them your cell phone number?
It's on the wall.
Okay. Let's make sure we get a picture of that. You got the clock started?
Yep.
James, clock has started. Anybody from the audience have anything to say or anything to share? Robert?
That's your last chance to speak, Robert.
Would you like to say Al one more time? Ally.
I'll be quiet.
Cheryl Mack, anything you want to share? Anything you want to talk about? Chainsaw? It's a quiet group today. Certainly Shannon has something to share.
Nothing.
Certainly you do.
I certainly don't.
Bless your heart. Let's keep it that way. We don't need the emergencies in Des Moines County.
Please.
Brian Carter?
Oh, don't, go there.
Who always? I just thought maybe he might want to talk about a culvert or something. Brian
That's gonna
Carter?
take a lot longer, 2 minutes.
Very interesting topic.
Bob?
Question for the sheriff.
Yes, sir.
Which two radio stations?
1017 The Bowl, I don't wanna get this wrong.
1490.
Titan Broadcasting's radio stations. And 1073,
Those are both tight.
yes.
And
They're right next door to each other.
that's why you were late?
Yeah. You got a couple,
You got a note from the first deputy?
He had to tie his tie, so.
He did send us an email, said he was gonna be late.
yeah. We had the final push to get people out and, you know, we've done the Toys for Tots at Westland Mall for many years, and we started at the south location at the Schottenkirk in Fort Madison, so really trying to push it down there as well. Just let the community know that they can stop down at Schottenkirk, same times this Friday, noon to 7, and then Saturday 7 to noon. Feel free to stop by either location, the mall or Schottenkirk, and there's gonna be, you know, some, you can see the schedule on the radio station website, but some local school bands will be there. The Marine Corps League will be at both locations. There'll be kind of some short presentations, and it's just a neat event. Most importantly, it's just an opportunity to get your kids involved, your family involved, teach them about the spirit of giving, and take them out there, make them a part of it, and then that translates into a child in need in our community that otherwise maybe would go without. So just, it's a neat event.
Well said.
That, Toys for Tots originally started out, like 27 years ago, around 27 years ago, the Jim Menon Memorial Toys for Tots. And then the Marine Corps League took it over.
Yeah, and they just do a great job. I mean,
Yeah.
they'll have 10 or 20 Marines out there the entire time. Stay there overnight. A couple of them, I
They're all
think your
out.
son will sleep in a vehicle and keep an eye on things. And
Yeah. That's why Todd's taking his truck out there, it's got a bunk in it, so.
Well, God bless them all for what they do. I appreciate you too, Sheriff.
Thank you for getting involved in that.
yeah, I'll throw in, I think you can still sign up at the Rock House. I think the address is 2700 Division Street. If you are in need, if you have kids in need, through the end of this week, through Friday. I think it's like 9 to noon and then 1 to 3 maybe. But I jump on the website and confirm those times, but they take an hour break in the middle of the day. But you can still sign up, and you can sign up really right up until the day of. If you're in need, just reach out.
Okay. Do they have an age limit on that?
I believe the age is 15.
Sorry, Rodney. Anyways. All right. If there's nothing else, with an aye, we're adjourned.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we do have a work session following regarding an animal ordinance with the county attorney, so we're gonna take 5 and we'll be right back. Thanks, everybody. Okay, we want to welcome everybody back. We have a work session now. This is with the county attorney regarding the animal ordinance. So I will turn it over to Yvonne, Mrs. Schaefer.
So I sent out by email, an amendment, to County Ordinance 6I. I think it speaks for itself. I tried to leave all the language highlighted. In yellow is new language, that addressed some of Angie's concerns that she sent to me in an email a couple of months ago. I removed the word dog and put in animal. Because quite frankly, if somebody decided they were gonna bring in a badger and that was their pet and it attacked somebody, this would do absolutely nothing for you, the federal dogs.
If we can talk about that just for a minute, and I don't think you were here in 2017, I was, when we went through this. We had as contentious of public hearings as we've had since I was being here. The most contentious thing was we started out with animals. When we changed it to dog, most of the problems went away. There were, then it was so that, I'm sure that, you know, there's absolute liability, I think the sheriff told me, for livestock, things like that that get loose, and I think.
I've suffered more cat attacks than I have dog attacks, so.
I'm not arguing it, I'm just saying to get through this and get through the original intent of this ordinance, it was dogs. So I would like to see dogs back where animal was, to replace that with dog. Do you remember that, Jim? I'm sure you remember it.
Yeah. Yeah, we, very well.
On the purpose? Is that what you're talking about?
No, all the way through there. On the original, it's got through there, it refers to dogs. And so, like Lisa just said, she just replaced dog with animal.
Could, if she's wanting to say dog, cat,
Well, any animal, and livestock is
well, that's,
obviously-
there's a word for more, would like domestic animal. Would that cover it more where that's not handling livestock? That livestock's not considered.
So my perspective on the enforcement side is, even Iowa code, they part out the definition of animal and livestock. And they say animal means a non-human vertebrae, however, animal does not include any of the following: livestock, preserve animals, fur-bearing, blah, blah, blah. But then they have some pretty strict guidelines for how to investigate mistreatment of animals or injury to livestock, and it has, you have to contact the state vet, or a veterinarian. We use the state vet. They have to write a letter, you have to deliver the letter. It talks about, you don't see this a lot in code, but obviously Farm Bureau carries weight with the legislator. It talks about, like, you must have a warrant, do not violate any constitutional rights. I mean, that's typically a given, but they put that in there and they lay out these strict steps of how to investigate the mistreatment of livestock and animal abuse. And I personally would prefer to keep it with Iowa Code 717 and 717B for animals and livestock, just so there's no, I guess, conflict and confusion. I feel like the Iowa Code covers that part really well. And in this area, this would be more when we have like a dangerous or vicious animal.
Right, we're looking at domesticated animals, not, because you could very easily have a vicious bull, but I really don't wanna have to do a hearing on
Well,
it.
and that's the thing, is by nature they are.
Yeah, yeah.
If
And you shouldn't be on that property
if you own a bull, that's a very big reality that,
Right.
and to me, it's a little bit different the way the handling of dogs, when dogs are allowed to run loose. And it's common, it occurs. It addresses, I think, the problem.
So how do they word it? Do they just say domestic animal versus livestock, or how is it?
So it's two separate codes. There's injury to livestock, essentially livestock abuse. A person is guilty of livestock abuse if the person intentionally injures or destroys livestock owned by another person in any manner, including but not limited to intentionally doing any of the following. Goes into some details. And then under the animal abuse, give some exemptions. Neglect. A person commits animal neglect when the person owns or has custody of an animal, finds that animal, and fails to provide the animal with any of the following conditions for the animal's welfare: access to food in the amount and quality reasonably sufficient to satisfy the animal's basic nutrition level to the extent that the animal's health or life is endangered; access to a supply of potable water in an amount reasonably sufficient to satisfy the animal's basic hydration level to the extent that the animal's hydration or life is endangered; access to snow or ice does not satisfy this requirement; sanitary conditions, ventilated shelter, grooming to the extent reasonably necessary, veterinary care deemed necessary, and there's a few more subsections, but it is.
So should we just refer to those instead of putting it in here?
I mean, you can, but I don't even know
Are
if
you
it's
talking
necessary.
about the animal welfare and care?
That's the
section?
Iowa
Are we still
code.
talking about animal versus dog?
So that's the Iowa code that would cover neglect.
Okay, sort of the animal welfare and care.
Yeah.
And as far as I'm concerned, I agree that whole section could go. But I guess, back to my first question, is the way we got this passed in the first place was we had to have it really narrow.
Right.
We had unhappy people here.
'Cause of
We
livestock.
focused on dogs, and intentionally, the only place we referred to it as animal was the part about rabies.
Yes.
And there's a part in here about the paragraphs about rabies, and that was animal. But everything else, and actually the way it happened is the county attorney at that time, I believe, was cutting and pasting a lot of this, and it kept saying animal. People got madder each week because it kept saying animal. So I took it upon myself to remove animal, replace dogs in those places. And the pushback, except for a couple other things, went away. That's how it passes. The public wanted this very narrow. And that's why I like the dog there. The animal welfare and care section, I do this, I think most of it is almost undefinable. But the state defines it, I don't know whether we even need to refer to that if
I
it's
feel like
state
we're
law.
well covered with state code.
And your officers know the state code, so it's not like.
Yeah, I mean, we
it's-
commonly, unfortunately, we deal with these, and we have to contact the state vet. The state vet will, he's come here before, we've taken photos and videos, sent them, it's a hard, it's hard to meet the
I had a
criteria.
report for the one in Danville.
But we do handle those investigations.
So, have you ever got a call for a cat?
Well, there was a cat involved with the dog.
A
in
cat that
Danville.
was.
Has there ever been a vicious cat phone call? The cat's tearing
No.
us
I had a
down?
cat that used to kill dogs.
What kind of dogs?
Okay.
What kind of dogs?
All righty then. She looked at me and smiled. I don't know what's going on with that. And I had a kid dog.
It first
There's some
maimed
big
the
cats out
Pomeranian
there.
down the street, and then it killed another one.
Oh, wow.
It's over.
We've had cat bites, but not, like ongoing issues.
Because my concern with including cats is we have so many feral cats that if your whole point is worried about the safety of the person that gets injured, there's more feral cats out there than there are dogs.
Well, that's how I got my cat bite. Because I had a feral cat that showed up that had a broken leg, and I helped him catch it for the Sonny's Legacy. And it nailed me, ended up in emergency room.
I think with the feral cats though, we would have the option of, if there's a feral cat bite, we more than likely have to put it down if we couldn't trap it, and then we'd have to go through the veterinary process, then have it examined by the lab. The dog situation, if they're wild dogs, we'd do the same, but this
Right.
is more like the owned animals is
Right.
what we're dealing with, where there's owners that are failing to to meet those necessities or to confine their animals that are potentially dangerous.
And that's what brought all about that guy down on the bottom said those
The
wolf
wolf
dogs that tore up his granddaughter or niece or whatever it was, and the guy didn't care. Well, and it's really hard to make as the sheriff and county attorney both know, to make law apply just to one person or to one type of, without impacting, so that's why we had to keep narrowing it to,
They're not wolf dogs, that's what he calls them.
Well, that's-
One
that's-
has
No,
to
I'm
get
just saying,
rabies
but
shot.
what's in a dog?
well, no, I understand it, but I'm just saying, well, it's got here that animals means both male and female animals. Originally, it meant dogs meant both male and female animals of the canine species, whether altered or not. So that's if that goes back to dogs, it's still, because the wolves are canines. So if we put that back in, we spent enough time on it, I really don't wanna change the intent of this to what the public was happy with.
I wasn't here during that time, but I remember that deal, and, I just don't remember hearing about, having a problem with cats or anything. The only problem I've ever heard about is with dogs.
We have them in our neighborhood that come in from the county.
Yeah,
We live
but-
right on the edge of the town, and we have cats.
But if they're strays,
If they're
there's
feral,
no one to
it's not
hold
like
responsible.
We don't know, well, I know the one we have in our front yard all the time has a collar, so. I also know someone with a mini Glock who is more than happy to take care of it, that's back.
Oh.
And that may be the way to handle it.
Bless your heart.
And that's one thing, that was one thing when we first did that became a problem, was this is to deal with animals that are running loose and causing destruction on other people's properties, to other people's
Livestock.
animals, and we've had several situations back. People came in after this and wanted to complain about dogs running loose that wasn't causing any issues. One lady complained because a dog would walk down the street in front of her property, and we said, "Did it ever come on your property?" "No, but I'm worried for my kids." "Did it ever show any viciousness?" "No, but I'm worried about my grandkids." That's not our problem. I'm sorry, but, and if a kid or a person goes on somebody else's property and their dog bites them, shame on you. I mean, that's their property. So we gotta make sure that it's,
We had one lady that came that, she lived out in the country and there was a dog across the property and there's a road there. And the dog would come out on the road and bark at him. So I don't know whether it scared them or they didn't like it or anything, and they wanted something done about the dog.
and it never showed any signs of aggression.
No, it
She
just
said it was
came
barking because it was
bark.
excited. It wasn't, so.
That's, but I guess just on that, I would be much more comfortable, and I think it would fit the original intent of that is to change all those animals back to dogs that were changed, and leave animals the same during in the rabies section.
And then you want the animal welfare and care removed and just,
That's what I think.
do we wanna put there follow state? Cause that's what this is, isn't it, the state?
I think if there's a state law, I don't think we need to say you have to follow state
Right.
law.
Okay.
But let me, so Tom, you're saying change them all back to dog except for D and leave that, for.
Well, wherever
Confinement
dog
for
was
rabies
changed to
and-
animals, I didn't go through here.
You're talking rabies,
There's a-
confined for rabies quarantine.
Right, that-
Yeah, that we
Just
intentionally
leave that
did
as in.
at that time was any problem with rabies, because other animals can get rabies that aren't canine.
Well, I mean, again, if the intent, if that was the original intent, then that would work.
And I think that Lisa fixed Angela had mentioned you had a dog that had 2 incidents before it could go to a hearing
Yes,
or
that
something
was
like that.
correct, and that was a huge.
Yeah, that was on page 2, where it says any animal which ran unprovoked on 2
Yes.
separate occasions has inflicted
Yep,
injury.
yep.
Yeah, 'cause I think the language before that meant it had to be their second time in front of the board, but it was
Which-
their
And, yeah,
first
and
time
that
in
one
the-
had 3 incidents
That one
before we
before
ever
you
got
could
to
even
the
get
first
a
meeting,
hearing,
so.
yeah, no, that's, I thought that.
So that way
So
we
we'll
can
leave that
address
in.
it immediately, yeah.
Yeah.
the quarantine period with a licensed veterinarian.
Which,
On,
I forgot to put page numbers.
I'm sorry,
Well,
it's
that's-
right
that's
before
fine.
E and it's the 2. So it's after, it's in, let's say 1 or I.
About the second, third page from the back.
Actually, further than that.
It's the last paragraph before E.
Yeah, last paragraph for E. So like, if they go to the animal shelter, they bring in a licensed veterinarian to check the dogs out. So this says at the conclusion, is that for like if they're home quarantined?
Yeah.
Okay,
Which I could probably, that probably should be F.
okay.
Yeah, that's more for if they've quarantined it at
Okay.
home.
Yeah, cause they bring the vet out very
So
well
I'll
to
just-
check and make
I'll
sure it's
just-
healthy before it
So
goes
keep
in.
it, but put it as paragraph F, so that.
Okay.
I have a question about that. So we see dogs that have their rabies vaccine, bit somebody, and they're home, they are home 10 days on the quarantine. So even though this dog has its vaccine, you're thinking it still needs to be examined? I mean, because I know that lots of times if it's a home quarantine, or obviously, if they don't have a rabies shot, then they're gonna get their ticket. But you're saying each one of these would need to go to a vet to be examined?
I would say they should be.
That's up for you to decide, I just draft this crap, I really don't.
Because that's a lot of visits, and I'm not, I mean.
Appreciate your honesty, Lisa.
Well, but the
I have
question
no filter
is,
as I get older.
do we
Wait, I never
know
had one to
that the
start with.
vaccine was
Oh,
going to protect them from rabies?
So they're vaccinated, so they're quarantined for 10 days to see if they
Have any
exhibit symptoms. So if
Right.
they don't exhibit symptoms,
Right.
we're gonna assume that vaccine
But is that
works.
assumption a good thing?
That's just
I
right,
mean,
I know that's
vaccines
what
are-
code says, so.
can I ask you a dumb question? Krista might know. If I get bit by a rabid dog, how long does it take before, now I have to get the shots. Once I show
Immediately.
symptoms, then I'm in trouble?
So the way it works with rabies is, if you're bit by an animal that is not vaccinated, and we aren't able to catch that animal. So if this is an animal that can be quarantined, it either goes to the Humane Society, Mediapolis, it goes up to the vet's office, and they can watch that for 10 days to see if the animal shows any symptoms. The animal is not caught. And you have not, so you're walking down the street, dog bites you, dog runs away. The recommendation from Iowa Department of Public Health is always to get the vaccine. And it is very crucial to get that within 72 hours of the bite. However, sooner the better, because the higher you're bit, the faster it's gonna go to the brain. So if you're bit up here,
Really?
it's gonna move faster. If you're bit in the toe, it's gonna take a little longer to get to the top. So your time frame, the recommendation is, like I said, they go out there, they get the IgG, they get the injection around the bite, wherever the bite is, and then the rabies series gets started. And that is usually the recommendation for that.
Well, then if you have the dog, if you're gonna hold him for 10 days to see if he exhibits symptoms, what's
They
it-
only
what if he
hold the
does-
dogs that have the rabies vaccine.
Well, but let's say.
You can quarantine
you-
without the vaccine
You
too.
quarantine him, you know, and so after 3 or 4 days, he's not showing any signs of it. But on the 9th day, is it too late to get the shots now? I mean.
They're still gonna give you the rabies vaccine.
I said if
But
it's-
generally, it's within the first few days that they're gonna exhibit symptoms.
If it's not been vaccinated for it, then they're gonna do it immediately. They're gonna get you started on the series right away.
Okay.
Not, most doctors, if they can quarantine the animal, they'll quarantine the animal and not.
So
I
he's
mean,
making a good point, that at 10 days, if that dog ends up with rabies, you're out of luck. You're past the
If it
point.
takes 10 days to find out he has rabies, you've waited too long.
I think generally though, if they're biting, they're gonna exhibit the symptoms faster. And again, we leave that to the healthcare provider, what the recommendation is. And if that animal's quarantined, sometimes they won't, sometimes they will, it just depends on the situation, and the provider, because the provider's gonna make that recommendation. I've actually seen, people get bites who the animal wasn't quarantined, the animal was nowhere to be seen, and the healthcare provider didn't say anything about the rabies vaccine. That's why I make that follow-up call. And I don't know if they said anything about the vaccine or not. I make that phone call and they're like, oh, nobody told me there was a rabies vaccine. I said, well, I'm gonna tell you, the recommendation by Department of Public Health is to get the vaccine. And generally, they'll call back to their provider and either the provider says, yeah, that's a good idea, or, yeah, I don't think you need to wear that. They make that call.
Is that serious? Are those the abdominal shots? Okay, they still give them that way,
They're
okay.
very costly. Iowa Department of Public Health pays for the first one,
Uh-huh.
but the second one, and some insurances pick it up.
How much is it?
In the veterinary world, they automatically.
Per shot?
give you the shot.
Serious? Per shot?
Per shot.
My
Yeah.
wife would say, let him die.
It's been good knowing you, babe.
You're at least gonna get one, the state will give you one shot, the wife's on the second one.
How many shots did it take?
2.
Really?
She's out.
Well, I shouldn't bad out Mrs. Dorker when she's.
He only got one shot, the left side of him is rabid.
Now, the
Which
good
makes
news
it
is
that way, I
rabies
should
is
be
very rare in canines in the United States.
What?
Rabies is rare in the United States with canines.
Yeah.
Very rare. It happens, but it's very
Well, and I know, but I know it's a deal, so I'm just throwing that out there. I thought about the 10 days, and you said you had to get it within 3 days or.
It used to be 14, and
Did it?
then they lowered it to 10, and I assume they're just trying to land on a number that's very safe, but I'm by no means have done any kind of research into how long it takes for the disease to show up.
We do have enough of it though, if I ship dogs overseas, they have to be quarantined for 2 weeks in Ireland and England before they're allowed in because they don't have rabies.
Well, whatever you guys think that, I just ask questions, I am not familiar.
As far as the having to be examined by a veterinarian, if it's at-home quarantine, for me,
The risk is low.
I mean, it's already been vaccinated, so it shouldn't be able to develop rabies, and now you've also quarantined the animal. The purpose for me to have it examined by the veterinarian and to require that is when there's a need to make sure that the dog gets vaccinated. And I think the reason we landed with some of this wording is at the time we had talked about the follow-up with the victim and.
That's important.
And that way I think it was kind of built into like our report that required them to give us the health status of the dog so that the victim would then have that information. If there's a way that we can accomplish that without requiring that, I mean, we can do that, but the reason it was built in that way is so that at the end of that 10 days, if somebody, I think, Mr. Scott was down here, Tim was telling a story about.
Yeah.
And he felt kind of out there, not having information. So whether this dog has a rabies vaccination, or say this dog's vaccinated, this will have this required follow-up to give us the information from a vet of what the status of that dog is. Is that necessary when the dog's already vaccinated? We would say, the dog's vaccinated, we're gonna allow at-home quarantine. As a victim, does the victim feel okay with that? Probably not.
Yeah, I'd say leave it.
I think on the other hand, absolutely, if the dog is not vaccinated, then they need to have that follow-up. The victim needs to be notified of this is the status, so they're just not going days and then weeks without any information on the animal.
Do we need to address that in the ordinance about notifying the victim?
So I would be glad to. What we have an internal policy that they are to do that follow-up at the time of when they gather that health status. So when they take a report, they're required to do that follow-up. And that's what our internal policy is. We can certainly put it in the ordinance.
Would that give your internal policy a little
Sure. I put a
support
little
or
bit of
something like
language.
that if we put it in the ordinance?
County agent shall notify the victim of the animal bite. County agent shall notify the victim of the animal bite, of the health status of the dog or of the animal. following the quarantine period. Just basically saying that the person that's responsible for that investigation, taking that report, needs to follow up with the victim. And whether that needs to be through the veterinarian, that was put in there to kind of put back on the owner of the dog, that you have to get the dog examined. We need to have a written update from a veterinarian. I don't know that it's necessary when the dog's already vaccinated, and we can say that we're gonna have to go do the follow-up, we're gonna go look at it ourselves.
Well, they wouldn't be eligible for home quarantine if the animal's not vaccinated anyway.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, Kevin's right, this was more going to how Kevin's deputies would have the written something or another to say, okay, Mr. Whitey, we've been able to, well, the animal's been in home quarantine, we've been able to confirm through the veterinarian on a follow-up visit that it is free of rabies, it is fully vaccinated at this time, and that, it kinda all went together.
Okay, would you, again, do you wait the 10 days before you notify them, or?
You'd wanna wait the 10 days.
Well, but you would let him know immediately, or as
That it
soon
was
as you knew that
vaccinated?
if it was not vaccinated?
Yeah. Yeah,
So
that would be
this-
important.
That, so that, you know, this dog has not been vaccinated, you need to contact or help, well, I don't know whether you need to give them those directions or not, whether you say contact public health or whatever, or whether you leave, probably wouldn't hurt to mention that.
They would know at the time of the incident, with the exception, like we've had incidents where there's a deal out in Timberline where a dog bit a child, and we couldn't catch the dog. And it took us, I think it took us a couple days, like, to actually capture it. So you're kind of in limbo at that point. And I think Chris is in communication, we're saying, you know, you need to talk to your doctor. I mean, this is the status of the situation. We can see the dog, we can't capture the dog isn't exhibiting these signs, but we have been able to quarantine the animal.
If, as I recall, that's what's scary
If we
is.
start putting things about these are the things you should
Well,
do,
no.
then there's gonna be a question of, it's the board of supervisors now telling me how to deal with my healthcare issues.
No, I understand that, I understand, I guess this is just a question for me to understand. I guess I've been told that the dog has to, you don't kill the dog, because then you might not find out if he has rabies, I suppose, if he gave you an
They used
autopsy
to
or
be able to
something.
cut off the head.
So they can,
Yeah.
so every once in a while, depends on the animal. So we've gotten phone calls before that, well, one animal bit a person and then went out back and died. Well, obviously, we send that head up to the state hygienic lab to be posted to see, because they can tell if the animal has rabies.
that the
Everyone-
brain? Is that what they're
Yeah,
checking?
The brain,
Affects the
yes.
brain, that's the
So
problem.
if this was an animal, say this was an animal running wild on a farm, grabbed a child, bit the child, whatever, and the owner shoots it, we always say, don't shoot it in the head, because they have to be able to do autopsy the head. They have to be able to look at the brain material.
But if I'm just out there and it's my child, and there's a dog that's come in to my yard, you know, or something like that, bit the child. and
You're gonna shoot it in the head.
Just
and
don't shoot it in the head.
I'm gonna shoot it where.
Unfortunately,
Shoot it
people don't
not
know
in the
that.
head.
Shoot it, not,
because
but
we
not
don't-
just shoot it
yeah.
in the head, but
Yeah.
everybody isn't gonna know that, can they still autopsy it if you shot it in the head, depends on how bad it is?
Depends
on
on,
what
we
you shot it
have,
with.
yeah, it
Depends on
depends
what
if they
you-
can
yeah.
have enough material to be able to examine the brain, because it changes the
Don't use it 12 gauge.
composition of the
Yeah.
brain.
And in that case, they're gonna probably have to go through the shot protocol.
Yeah, for safety
Yeah.
purposes.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the other side of this is if we leave this in and they have to go get the vets, if you're not maintaining your dog and you're letting it run loose and it's biting people, you having to pay for a vet visit?
Alright.
I mean,
If
The
it
only
was yours,
situation that pops up is, like, half of the animal bite reports we take are family members. Because they go to the doctor, the ER is required to notify us. In those situations,
yeah, you don't wanna worry about that.
you would hate to require them to now go get, I'm just looking for an out for that situation, cause I can see it's kinda tough to tell somebody, hey, you need to go get an examination on an animal that's already vaccinated. And it was a circumstance where, whatever occurred, but a lot of times it's not the animal being vicious.
And someone
it's-
doing something stupid.
Yes.
Agreed.
Well, and what I recently got was 2 dogs went out in the pen together, the owner went to put the food down, and one got to playing with the other, and it was their own dog. And obviously, sometimes, depending on the bite, they'll go out to the ER because it's punctured, they need a stitch, or they need something. And that would be a situation where that's 2 vet visits, and both of those dogs are already vaccinated. I mean, I'm not sure that that would be beneficial, and people might be a little upset with that.
You don't wanna get too far in it. Yeah, I can see that, cause I've had that happen to me, playing with the dog, and he puts a puncture wound on my thumb or something, but it's my dog.
Yeah, I've been bitten by my dog.
Yeah.
You're saying this is for vicious,
We
this is
all-
for
we all
vicious
have, yeah.
animals, and dogs, you know, when you can't say, "Hey, sit down, be quiet," they understand, you know, until a dog understands, or any animal understands English, something could happen.
Especially a pup, younger
Yeah.
pup, just
Exactly.
playing, it's easy for them to draw blood when they're just messing around if they're excited.
Jim's dog talks to him, though, he understands. That's the only one on the planet Earth.
So I would be good with pulling that, on our end of things, I would be good with pulling that portion, and just basically say when, I lost that portion. At the conclusion of a quarantine period, when required for, lack of a, I'm not getting the wording's not coming to me, but
When required because of rabies.
because of lack of rabies
Yeah.
vaccination.
A licensed vet.
That they shall be required to be examined by a
If not
licensed vet.
current or rabies vaccination, the animal shall be vaccinated at the owner's expense.
But still add the portion that the county agent, deputy sheriff, however we wanna put that, still shall follow up, and get that information at the end of that 10-day period. So that regardless, the victim, and of course, if it's an in-home situation, then you don't have to do that. But in a situation where it's not, if it's the UPS driver that gets bit, even if it's a vaccinated animal, they would still be notified, of that status. And typically what we do is, we give our business card, they have the phone numbers, and we say, hey, follow up with us, feel free to call us anytime, we'll get you all the information, and we will, and we get that status updates, and we just open that line of communication with them. Because it's a lot more on their mind than it really is on the deputies that's taken several of these reports.
Man, I wonder if we could do like if Colin could do like a link or something on the county page for if somebody's been bit, that they can like check statuses or something like that. I wonder if we could have something like that. No?
That getting into your HIPAA thing, somebody else.
Fine, Jim, fine. Never had
Well,
to say.
if they went on it, that's their own choice to get that
Well,
information.
what if
But-
that section 2, at the conclusion of the quarantine period, if the animal is not previously current on rabies vaccination, it shall be vaccinated at the owner's expense and prior, and then that written proof should be provided. We'll just leave it back at section 2, so it'll apply to
The
anybody.
owner shall submit written proof from the licensed veterinarian.
That works.
And we can include that she'll be vaccinated and examined at their expense, just to
Yes.
make sure if it's.
Yeah. That's the thing, you don't wanna put that on the sheriff's deputies, they don't know what rabies looks like. I mean,
But you're still sticking with the microchip, right? Is it, you're still sticking with that?
Where is that at? Cause I
it's
really
right there,
want
that in there, is that in there?
Says it shall be
prior to
microchipped at
this,
the
the
owner's
animal
expense.
shall also be microchipped at the owner's expense.
I only have, and I apologize, I've got a 10:30 meeting at my office that I'm gonna have to head out for, but.
You want me to cover that?
See, you did more than time for me.
You wanna talk about? You want
Brian to cover
dispatch
for you?
consoles?
Yeah, I got it.
The only other section I had was under D, under seizure and impoundment. And this has been in the ordinance, it's old language, but it says any animal which is causing a disturbance. Any animal may be seized and impounded by the Board of Health, county agent, or public safety officer with an animal humane society, veterinarian, or other animal rescue organization under the following circumstances as otherwise permitted under this ordinance. Seizure and impoundment, any animal which is causing a disturbance.
Pretty broad.
Disturbance is
That's
defined
real
on the
broad.
very first page.
Okay.
That lady that was down here saying there's a dog out
Disturbance
barking
is
at her.
specifically.
Means an
defined.
act of trespassing,
this-
chasing, maiming,
On the
or
very first
killing
page,
domestic
the
livestock or
definitions.
fowl.
Okay, I missed.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
actually good.
Can I make a suggestion? Because because I know me, if I was looking through that and I caused a disturbance, I would immediately,
Thank Barbie.
I have a picture of disturbance. Can we put something like that, see,
As defined.
As
well,
defined on
as
page
a
one, or
disturbance
front of
as
ordinance.
defined in section 1 or something like that, so that,
Section B, yeah.
somebody that jumps to conclusions like I do, that would just say, that's a
Yeah, but that
disturbance.
is, yeah.
I've not
that's-
simply seen that on the surface, and I didn't see the definition would say, well, that dog is a disturbance, it's barking all
Oh,
night.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, chasing, maiming, killing.
Yeah, no, if I would've done the same thing, I would immediately find disturbance in my head and gone from there.
I just have a question about the trespassing, because my dog trespasses every day. We live out in the country, it runs across the neighbor's yard.
CP, why
to
do you let
get-
your dog trespass?
I know, to go to my in-laws' house, because you know what, it's a shortcut across the yard, so is that considered trespassing?
Well, if the
Only if
neighbors
they
wanna
consider it.
complain, yeah, if neighbors wanna complain, then they got the right to complain.
Yeah, it's gonna come down to if you get along with your neighbors. I think.
No,
It is.
it's
Some of
a
that-
legal
some of that stuff
term,
goes.
no.
A lot of that stuff, that's what it is.
Okay. Only a human can trespass, I'm
We just
sorry,
wanna
that's
make
it.
that
Only a
part
human.
possible for us to get involved.
Right on, right on. 'Cause I
Do
don't
we
think
have it in here?
It
What-
is,
what-
under 3, the disturbance means the act of trespassing,
Where are you seeing that?
under county ordinance, first page, definition.
That definition,
The act of, okay, so trespassing can't be used, what do we use there?
Well, if it's, is it truly a, I would say.
I mean, if
I
somebody.
would say remove the
I have my
word
dogs, I
because-
keep them fenced in, if somebody else's dog is coming up and fence fighting with my dogs, I'm gonna have a problem with
But
that.
to me,
They don't
that
need to be
goes
on my
more to
property.
chasing trespassing in and of itself. I go stand in Kevin's front yard and he tells me to leave and I say, no, I'm gonna stay here, I'm trespassing.
Right.
I'm not causing any
Yeah.
disturbance, other than he doesn't want me there.
Well, same thing, I
So
mean,
I don't know
like I
that
said, with her dog.
I just don't know that trespassing is probably the word that everybody
I
intended.
agree with Lisa, I don't know that, I don't think we want trespassing that. Shane just said, you know, a lot of it's how you get along with your neighbors, your neighbors see. It says right here, trespassing.
Yeah.
Provoking.
Call the sheriff.
Yeah, yeah.
Provoking maybe might be a better word.
Chasing,
Like what you just said, if it's a
That's-
dog.
I just like the hardcore
That's-
stuff.
That's pretty broad, if you could,
The chasing, maiming and all that, I'm all in on that stuff.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
provoking's pretty subjective.
I don't know what the word would be, I can't think of
Well, I
a,
can't think
might have
of
to have
it.
a sentence there, just going onto property of another after being requested to stay off. That would be our issue.
But does the dog have notice?
Well,
no, but the owner should
property
be
is-
I'll see
responsible.
what I can come up with for, because I kind of questioned that word to begin with, I don't.
We're dealing with a situation like that right now, where somebody just lets their dogs run, and it drives the neighbors nuts, because they hunt their property and the dogs are running through their timber. And it's just one of those
It's ruining
situations.
their hunting.
It does,
Yeah.
and I get it,
Yeah,
like, you
I've
ask
been
them.
town where there's a leash on, and you don't have that issue, that would be my
Yeah.
response.
God, who wants to live in
And
town?
that wouldn't be an issue until it's the rut, and it's November, and people are out in their timber, and they don't like it.
This is
Yeah, I
one of
get
my
that.
3 white dogs now.
No.
Huh?
What's that now?
There's, you know, I told you I had them 3 white ones, there's
Uh-huh.
only 2 now, I don't know where the other, the bigger one is going. I don't know if the neighbor up the road shot it, or,
I have.
I've got
We haven't had it.
I've got a paranoia about dogs running during rutting season and hunting season, because when I worked at the clinic, we had some guys come in one night right at closing, and I worked in a huge clinic, so probably from here to that door was the front door to the desk. You could smell them right after they came in, they'd been drinking and hunting. They shot their own dog and started to skin it before they realized it was their dog and not a deer.
Oh, it gets better, there was a.
You've got to be kidding me.
There was a guy
So,
in Johnson.
so when somebody
County
says
that-
something about their dogs running loose during hunting season, it just makes my skin crawl. I wanted to keep.
I don't know what they was drinking, but I wouldn't want it.
There was a guy up in Johnson County.
And they're on the
that killed
turkey,
his
man.
neighbor.
Oh, that-
It was on that yak, wasn't it?
What was that? What was that?
Killed his neighbor. And she was trying to tell them, because they were technically on her property, and she was trying to tell them,
Get off
you
my
need to get off,
property."
I don't allow hunting here, and they shot her, and they claimed she was a deer.
Well, I think that'd be pretty
People are
flimsy,
stupid.
flimsy excuse.
I shouldn't have said that, I'm sorry.
That's a bit, yeah, shouldn't.
Some
that's
people
a-
have issues.
Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, that's all that's everything I had on that, so.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Have a great day,
Take care.
Kevin. The tie looks good.
Thanks.
I don't think there were many other changes after section D2, except for,
I did see one.
there was, yeah.
Or at the Des Moines County.
In I, that no animal declared as vicious shall be allowed to be taken out of or brought into Des Moines County except as permitted by the Animal Control Board. Angie had brought this up, it's like, is this even enforceable?
Yeah, and that's a good question. Now, one of our cases, they took off, moved the dog right over Henry County line,
Then
or
it's
not
Henry
following
County's
any of
problem.
the
Yep.
issues.
And it's Henry County's
Well,
problem.
no, it's not, it's still ours, because they still come back and cross
Yeah,
the,
they cross,
dogs don't, there's not a
I don't
fence at
think-
the
I don't-
county line.
you're talking about where I go.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just don't think once they're taken out of the county, we lose all jurisdiction. That dog may come back into the county, but if the owner removes the dog to a separate county, we no longer have jurisdiction over that dog.
We
So
can
when-
legally
assuming
call
that
that
the-
county and
assuming
say
that the
this
owner
dog
is
is a
moving
vicious
too,
dog.
if the owner is moving across county lines as well, we have no jurisdiction over that person. None.
Well, that's true. But we can call the sheriff's department there and say, make it part of the policy, saying
can't
they
make-
just
we
moved their
can't make
vicious.
them do anything.
You can't
No.
call them and tell them to enforce our ordinance.
No, but we can say, this dog is a vicious dog, they moved it out of our county because this is their,
Just so you know.
This-
just so you know.
They can
and-
make it, yeah, I
And
mean-
let them be aware so they can check in right away. I don't know, it's one of those things that, and the other thing, do we want people bringing vicious dogs here if they've been, then it is our problem.
Well, I mean, we
We
don't.
don't know
but I
their
mean,
We
Yeah.
can't control
We
what
can't
the citizen
control
of
how would you
another
know,
town
I
does.
mean, if,
Yeah, that's
until
true.
after the dog start acting up, I mean.
And then we have to address it and they'll move it somewhere else.
Well, these-
And
or
instead of
people-
Bill's problem,
These people you're talking about, is, I'm well aware of what happened, because they moved that dog and took it to where the kid lived, that was living with this girl at that house. And then during the day, when he'd come over there, he'd bring that dog back over there into Des Moines County. But then nighttime, he'd take it back over, that dog would run around all day long, you know.
and it was actually ordered to be confined in a
Yeah.
kennel and, yeah, with a top and so I don't know, guys, it's,
Well,
I don't know how that
the only thing I'd say is if we can catch it and
If
in the
somebody called and
property and
said,
it's not
you know,
under, then law enforcement can take it and have it put
Rover's,
down immediately.
Rover's back in Des Moines County, just so you know, they bring him over here every day.
Rover's back in Des Moines County.
The sheriff went out and said this dog's supposed to be confined or whatever, and said. we're
Yeah,
taking
because it was, they were told very clearly, the dog would have been put down,
Yeah.
except the way that was worded, they hadn't been here for the second meeting. So we couldn't, because I'm reading that and it's like,
But that's fixed now, so yeah, that's on.
so yeah,
I
if he,
would've
if
never
he
thought
caught
of that
it
until
in
you
Des
brought
Moines
it up.
County, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the farmer took care of two of them.
I feel so bad for that man, I really do. I mean,
Got them.
like I said, people with animals need to have some responsibility. I don't have a problem with the country animals running. A lot of people
with
use them to
children need
protect their
assume
livestock,
responsibility.
No.
you know.
They don't do that either.
I know, but to have to constantly worry about living your life with your livestock and your normal existence because you got an idiot down the street that has no responsibility whatsoever, none.
Why is it any more?
Yeah, it's just mind-boggling.
I got
People,
neighbors-
people have lost all sense of looking out for their neighbors. They don't care. If it isn't what they want, they just don't care.
A guy that worked for me once that moved, he got into it with these neighbors, he's one of those guys that would order pizza or a cab or something, you know, kept doing this to him, you know. So I couldn't get him to quit that, so he said, I decided to kick his ass. He said, so he called him out, he said, so they're out there in the front yard, and his neighbor kicked his ass. So he said, I'm moving.
You got some of the greatest stories, man.
When was that guy's
Well,
name, Jerry?
Jerry, yep.
Yep, I know who kicked him too.
Yeah. I don't remember who kicked him, who,
Oh,
Doesn't matter.
Marion.
Let's not talk about it, boys.
okay.
Huh?
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I remember the, guy said.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So my concern with that section is, I don't know,
You're right,
I
there's
don't
no
know
way
the
that-
two,
If
we
you,
can
you
enforce
can't,
it.
you can't.
There's
I don't-
not, so
yeah,
let's
you-
take that out.
That's
There's
probably,
no way that-
no sense
there's
putting
no way
something
that-
in there and trying to,
Is that
enforce
where it was?
Because the
something
minute
that
we
can't be-
tried, they'd say, well, I live in Henry County, or I live in Louisa County, you can't do this to me, and.
Yes.
But again, if they bring it over across the thing, it doesn't matter. If they've been ordered to keep that dog confined, it's not.
In Des Moines County.
All you
then
have to
it's
do
in Des Moines
is tell the
County.
neighbors,
Then-
keep an eye out for him, you see him back, call the sheriff.
Yep,
Yeah, get some
we'll
video,
come
take
pick
a
him up
picture.
and take him away.
Stand up.
Can I ask
Well-
one more question on that?
No.
That last question. I probably-
Haven't you asked
Sorry.
her, Krista?
I have asked about
You just
today.
up your question.
There you go.
Hey, I had a guy in law school, that was what the professor did when the minute his hand came up, you get one question, John, do you wanna use it later? Cause we would end up losing the whole class period with his one stupid question.
Well, hopefully this is a quick question. The microchipping, was that remaining in this section?
That's what I was
Because
wondering.
then who is going to
Can we
enforce
legally
that?
do that? I mean, as long as the dog's.
Okay,
I mean, how
first
does
of
that
all,
work?
if they
They've
get
already got the
taken,
kennel.
if they get taken to the animal shelter, has to be microchipped. If they have to come to the animal control board or they've had issues, cause it's too hard for our sheriff's deputies to try to define which dog got in trouble when they have 12 that are identical. And that's with
There will be.
the wolf dogs, that's with there will be what?
There will be a lot of people, if they were bitching about dog versus animal.
No, cause they just didn't want livestock involved in it.
Well, you could have left animal and just specifically exempted any livestock, it's exempted. in-
Well, they wanted, they didn't want anything, cause they, you know, it was dog, like I said, as soon as
My
we did that.
concern, and I've told Angie this, I think we can do it, but I think you'll see a lot of people balk at it. Now you're telling me what I'm gonna do with my,
Oh,
especially if my
microchip?
dog didn't do anything
But-
wrong.
I agree with you.
Well-
I agree with you.
Especially if my dog didn't do anything wrong. My dog was vaccinated, I
Where is
quarantined
that?
it, I did everything I was supposed to
It's-
do.
D2.
But,
Now
guys,
you're telling me that I'm gonna.
she's
put
saying it
this
didn't do
animal-
anything wrong. We wouldn't be having a conversation with these people
Well,
if
you
they
just
didn't do
said half
something
the
wrong.
bites you have aren't because the dog did anything wrong, it was just because people were doing stupid and provoked it. So
That's
that's
because they don't take care of it, but yeah, then the person has to pay the thing.
So,
A microchip does not hurt the
How
animal.
much is it for a microchip? What's that
Actually,
price?
it can because they move and they.
It's not gonna move on any adult dog. I have never, ever had a
I
microchip
was
move.
just reading an article
But
that they were
They
saying,
do,
especially
when you get a
Patchouli.
newborn puppy, or when you get a young puppy and microchip
You
it.
know, this was saying that it can happen to any dog, it can move and then they have to surgically remove the microchip because it's doing nerve damage. So I was just reading an article about it not too long ago.
Once they're a year
I just think you're gonna have a
old,
lot of people balking.
once they're a year old, they're
Is
not.
that like a
they're
shot,
not
they
gonna
put
move.
it-
I've never
It's
seen
a
one
small
move.
computer chip.
That's what I mean, it's just a
So
computer
if
chip and they shoot that.
I
in
just
the-
think this is one that, I would balk if it was my dog, and I think this is one you'll have a lot of people balking.
So how much is the microchip?
$120.
Well, I think it's probably as much as the expense would be the point of it.
Now, I will tell you,
I
if
think
they
it's
go
the
to the animal
principle of the
shelter,
matter
That's what I mean.
that was one thing they said about, in that hearing we had on the dog in, Danville, was they do microchips and vaccinations and all that without record. If they get a dog in there, that is done,
Who does that?
the animal shelter.
Oh,
And the vet comes and visits it,
Here at
and they
Humane
take care
Center.
of all that, and then if the person comes to get that dog back, they have to pay all those costs. So, we license our cars. You have to have a pet license in town. I mean, there's all kinds of things where
The only
we
reason
have
car-
to be able to know what that is,
The
right?
cars are licensed because they're riding on a public highway. If I wanna drive one around the farm, I don't have to license it.
No, but if you have a dog running around everyone else's property, it's already been to the animal control board, cause it's a problem, it's vicious, it's bit, it's,
But
Well,
there's
why would
nothing
they
I
not
that
understand,
says
but
that
the only
says
reason
it
you have
has
to license
be
is not
on
even your
someone
neighbor's
else's
property, if you're gonna take it on a public highway.
You used to have to license your bicycles here in Burlington too.
That's right.
Well, you rode them on the road, on the street.
That's right.
I
You say
think,
used to.
I guess my concern, what I'm getting at is you're gonna have people balking who, yeah, my dog bit somebody who happened to be on my property. my dog's vaccinated, my dog really wasn't doing anything wrong, and now you're wanting me to put some chip in it? Because I just think you're gonna get a lot of blowback on that one. And that's up to you guys whether you wanna do, I just think there'll be blowback.
I agree with Lisa.
Right, wrong, indifferent, I think there'll just be a lot of people who won't like the idea.
So then how are we gonna control the real issues like the wolf dogs?
What's
like
the microchip gonna do? I mean, that's just gonna.
You scan it, you know that dog is the one that had the rabies vaccine. You know that that is the dog, instead of them saying,
If
oh
they
yeah, I
don't-
got a rabies vaccine, see, here's the rabies tag for this dog. And they've got 30 that look just alike, how do you know which dog is the rabies?
Well, I see where you're going there,
So legally, we have to have a rabies tag for a dog.
yeah.
Why not say, you have to have a microchip to prove that's the dog that has the rabies?
What if it said the incident?
How do you know
occurred-
the rabies?
What if
So-
it said the incident occurred outside the dog's
Property.
owner's property?
Oh, that could be.
Then
But
it
it's
would
in a
be,
public area and you guys don't have a dog at large.
no,
I mean,
I'm
and they're-
just saying, at least
the
that
dog's
would,
on
that would
public
give you something
property.
if it comes into my field. If his dog comes into my field and bites me, that's,
And you got
You're
6
gonna
dogs
go-
that
you-
look alike.
look, anyway, so, and I
I
can see
don't,
where
like I
the
said,
D.
I don't
I'm just
care,
saying,
I
can we-
just draft
can
the
we- can you put in
document, but I just
something
think
that says
this
if
will
it
give you
happens-
some
If
blowback.
it happens on the, if it doesn't happen on the owner's property, if that incident does not occur on the owner's property, you might
I
get
don't think
chipped.
anybody's, I think you're just gonna get a lot of blowback on somebody with
Period.
microchipping their dog.
And
Because there are health concerns about microchipping, that's why
Yes.
I've never done mine.
Well, and the other concern would be, these animals out in the country, they get quarantined at Minneapolis at the vet. You're gonna say that vet has to microchip. What if that vet doesn't wanna microchip every animal that comes through? I mean, that could be a concern. Now, to address Angie's concern, okay, so this dog bit somebody, how do we know this dog was vaccinated? I think you could do a titer on that animal. If that animal's been in, has been a problem, then we could ask them to check to see if they are positive for the rabies vaccine. Titer
You
that
can do a
animal.
titer. Titer's more expensive than microchip.
What's a-
But, I mean, that way
what's a
it's one
titer?
A
bad
titer is
animal.
where they just run the blood work and they can titer and see if they have the immunity to
Is
the
it
rabies.
TIGER or
TITER.
titer?
Yeah.
That
So-
just gives them a blood test to see
Yeah.
if they.
It is.
I don't
That is-
over vaccinate my dogs, so they'll get a vaccination and then I titer after that, except for rabies, because that's law. But I titer, and unless it shows up that they no longer have the immunities from the vaccine, they don't get another vaccine. We over vaccinate dogs.
Which would be a way to tell if that dog who's been bad really had the rabies vaccine. If you say, look,
That's
you're
true.
required to titer this animal because you got 30
That's-
that all look
But,
alike.
That's just a
but
test
where
to
we're
see if they're
looking,
vaccinated
where we're
dogs.
looking at this, not only are we looking at rabies, we're looking at which dog is vicious. Because that is one of the things that have come back, that people said, well, it wasn't that dog. Perfect. How are you gonna prove that that was the dog that was vicious when they had
Yeah.
6 more that looked just alike?
Does a titer identify them?
No.
Titer
You
would
have
only
to
say if it
have a
was
way to
vaccinated.
identify it. And these people are gonna manipulate the system every way they
Oh,
can.
that's,
And they're gonna try to make it look like, well, you can't do anything with this dog because you can't prove. And believe me, I got a neighbor that says that. Well, prove it, prove it. You can't prove I did that. These people are gonna do the exact same thing with the dogs. So the microchip is away, and microchips are safe. They very, very seldom move, and generally it's if you microchip a young dog. My dogs get microchipped at a year, because by then, everything's set, the muscles are set, the microchips don't move. But yes, I've had people that have gotten early pups microchipped, and you find the microchip down here in their ankle, because it moved down that path.
Yeah, I don't know, the way I'm reading
I'm sort of leaning against the microchip now, if there is a chance of something like that happening. If you pick a dog up and it's 9 or 10 months old, you know it's young, you don't know if it's a year old. You know, it's, a lot of people don't, you ask them, how old's your dog? You
Yeah,
know,
a lot of people,
they
you might be
they
familiar with the
don't
breed
know.
of your dog to know what they
And
are.
But let's don't put it in there just because they picked up the dog. It needs to be in there. If your animal has came to the control board and has been deemed vicious, that dog has to be microchipped.
See, I've got no problem with that. When it gets to that point, that dog
Okay,
did something.
where we've
Right.
got it in is anytime a dog has bitten someone, so if you just want the.
Yeah, so let's
microchip-
I don't
let's
have a
do-
problem if the dog's been too
Had to come to the animal
Deep-
control board, then I can
it's
say,
created a
you're gonna
problem
get a
when it comes to
microchip
the
put in that
animal
dog,
control
so
board.
we can.
They don't go to the animal control board for barking at somebody.
No, no.
I mean, I've been, had to deal with
So
that.
we
And then at that point, you lose your
What do you
rights
think,
to
Jim?
make decisions on that.
Live it, if it goes to the
That's
control
all
board.
vicious dog.
I think that's more
What?
reasonable.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Then you're
well,
not
it's-
asking
if it,
people
if
to
it goes
do
to the
Yeah,
animal
Yeah, because
control
I
board,
agree with you, I
it's
think people are
already,
gonna be very upset about
been
that.
vicious.
I just-
it's been vicious.
And I told Andy
Did
from the
some-
beginning, I don't
yeah,
know that
I-
people like.
Yeah, she
I don't
did.
have any problem with that,
She
rather
did
than
say.
every dog,
Yeah.
like you said, that if your dog bites one of your grandkids. But yeah, no, I don't have a problem if we put it in there that if it goes to the animal control board,
The
then it
animal
has to be
control,
microchipped.
and you can even put, if it goes to the animal control board, the animal control board can make a decision on if the animal has to be microchipped.
Yeah, if they deem it.
Because if it's one dog, they only have one dog at their house, we're gonna know that's the
Well-
dog. But if you have 30 dogs that look identical,
So if we do that language, we're just gonna have to move it around, if the animal has been determined to be a potentially dangerous animal or a vicious animal, under whatever sections
Right.
they end up being,
or even if the animal has to go in front of the animal control board.
See, that's what I'm
yeah,
saying.
but then it's determined that dog didn't really do anything wrong, then you're.
Yeah, that's true.
But
But it's not, they handle, the sheriff's department handles that. If you come in front
Potentially
of them,
dangerous or vicious,
yeah.
the dog
Yeah,
will be
that was,
required.
well, then when you got somebody
Yeah,
that doesn't care.
I think that will.
Then it's really
get
tough to
people
deal with them.
settled down. I just-
Well-
And I think
guy
if
said
anytime your
shoot.
dog bites
He
somebody,
doesn't
now
care,
you're
he's got
telling me I'm
one.
microchipping, no.
He didn't care. I'll tell you
I think
what
that
would
we
you
could
done?
get that language.
They've done that to your granddaughter.
Yeah.
I agree,
Then,
if
yeah.
it
those
goes
dogs
before
will
the
have-
board, cause if they file an
I
appeal
would've called
with
the
the board
sheriff.
of
I think
health,
I
the
did
board
that
of
way.
health
Dogs
determines
away from my
it,
grandkids.
and it's
I would've
not
never
determined
let
to
that-
be
I never
a
would've never
potentially
let my
dangerous dog,
grandkids-
cause that's their appeal
When you're a
process.
dog, I agree with them.
So I agree,
That's
it's not just if they show up at the
never
board,
been
if they are
able to
determined.
Oh, and she'll have to
That's
have
a great way to do
surgeries
that,
every
'cause
time her
then
head
you're
grows.
not taking their
Well, wait a
appeal
minute,
process
wait a minute, what do
away.
you mean? So if the animal
Oh,
control
watch it
board
4 or
says
5
it's
years.
She's one
deemed
girl.
vicious
She's just a
in
little
Des
girl.
Moines County,
Yeah, and then
I'm not
there's an
even
appeal
sure she was
process through the
5.
board of
I
health.
don't think so.
It's in here.
I've been 3 or 4, she was little.
That's in her little get well card in Iowa City, man. I remember that.
I think
There's
that'll
always
work
been
if
an
I
appeal
fix
process
it.
for people, they put an
It
appeal
does.
process
Animal
in.
control board. What are you looking for?
But again, I do like putting it, if it goes to the control
where's it
board,
at?
and they, they're talking about something's wrong with the dog, or the dog ain't right,
so the board shall have the
Check that.
authority to order the animal detained, to be vicious, to be humanely euthanized at the owner's expense.
I thought there was an appeal process.
There is, if the owner or keeper of an animal contests the determination by the board, he or she may bring a petition appealing the determination in the district court. If the animal has been impounded, the owner shall.
So in the district court, not the.
Oh, I thought it was, it used to be Board of Health, I thought.
And that I don't have a problem with, but the animal has to maintain quarantine. And then most people are not
Yeah.
going to.
If it's already. been
Most of the
impounded,
people,
it will.
sadly, most of the people that come in front of the animal control board.
They don't care about those dogs.
They don't care about their dogs in the first place, so they're not going to fight this. Unfortunately, they will probably just go out and get another dog and have the same
There's a
problem.
couple, there's gonna be a few. I do remember one that went before the control board, and she was all about her dog, because she still won't talk to me to this day, because my sister was on the control board at the time. She won't talk to my sister.
Oh, was
or-
that city of Burlington?
That was City of Burlington.
They got a different set of rules.
Yeah, they do,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, you try to take one of my dogs, you're gonna have a fight.
but the
all over
county,
the
yeah, but
court.
out in the county, they do got different rules. and,
Yeah,
You know, but if your dog was biting folks like that, we're gonna take your dog.
if my dog was biting folks like that, you wouldn't have to.
We got a guy
That's
sitting
one thing, my
here.
dogs, they don't, I've actually, the quickest way for me to break up a dog fight between my dogs, cause I have unneutered males and unspayed females, so once in a while they'll get in a tiff. Quickest way to get my dog to stop biting is stick my arm in there, and they freeze. I mean, literally, like, oh, shit, now we're in trouble. So,
Yeah, it's real
now,
good.
I do not recommend anybody else doing that.
Yeah.
My dogs have been, that's been done to them since they were this big,
Right.
you know, yeah.
They talk
That's a
about
good way
that
to get your arm
Police
ripped off.
patrol, when we started this,
Oh.
that kid that sit back there, said,
Yeah.
my God, you better not get my dogs. He said, somebody's gonna get shot or something, you might take, I forget how he said it, you know.
What was it?
Jeff White was there.
He said if somebody messed with his dogs, he was gonna shoot him.
Well, it's gonna be in trouble, I don't know what.
Well, if his dog's out there biting folks, then we gonna get his dog. That's
Yeah,
the bottom
that
line.
doesn't happen.
You
Now-
know, dogs can't go around biting people, people
No.
can't go around fighting people. That's just the way it is. That's just the
Now,
way it is.
I thought you
Fight
now,
people.
if innocently someone ever did anything to my dogs,
You
I'm,
can't go around biting.
I'm old enough that prison doesn't scare me anymore.
Well, I'm older than you,
So
it
we-
scares
so
me.
do
How
not-
did we end up
do
on
not-
this?
Do not mess with my dogs.
I've been there, it would scare you. So I will just move that, but otherwise,
Move
I'll
the,
go ahead and make the changes and then just kind of redistribute
So
the
the
section.
migration of the
draft to
vicious or-
everybody. I'll add that
They go ahead of the-
language that we talked about.
If they go to the board,
Determined to be
then
vicious
they
or
have to be
dangerous.
microchipped.
Lisa,
If they didn't,
down in, back in the seventies, I worked for a meat company. And I sold meat to the state prison down
Get him
here.
or send us a new copy
I
and
agree
then.
with you, I had to go in there and they search me. When I go in, they put, and I'd have to go through this gate here, and then I was in this holding cell. And then they let me out and I had to walk across the yard.
Sally
Go over
Port.
there to get to the guy that.
I've never seen anyone when the old fort was still open, we took,
Oh, that
one of
would've
our
been a
legal
scary
interns
prison.
down there for a tour. And they went through cell block 13, you know, for the ones that don't get
Oh,
along
that was
well
back in
with-
the day.
the ones that don't get along well with others. And, I mean, just the cat calling to this poor kid, I mean, I was just like, yeah, see?
You better
And
be,
he
yeah,
decided
you better
he
be
was going to
strong.
corporate.
You gotta be strong.
They actually used to do that with kids. What was it, Scared Straight or
Scared
whatever?
Straight.
And they
Send
proved
them-
it had absolutely zero effect.
It didn't help.
I've been down there 3 times, the first time.
It
I
did
went
for
in
like
to buy
6
this
months, and
building
then the kids.
Car, I went in there for, to look at a job a couple times. And when that stolen car, that was just before, remember Christmas Nix? It was before he came there. That black guy was in the army, you know, that didn't take any shit from anybody, straightened it out. I was in there just a few days before they had that riot and killed 1 or 2 of the people down there, and they had the gang standing in the yard. And they were just like you'd see on TV, they had the Nazis, then they'd have the motorcycle gangs, and they're all standing around like combing their hair, and you'd have the black gangs, and everybody, they'd have, and you'd go through, oh yeah, a woman went in there with us. She was estimated for some construction company. I thought I'd heard some terrible, terrible stuff before I went in there, but,
And they were bringing their best material that day.
They had some terrible people out in that yard. After Nick's got there, cause I met him a couple times in Sombrero, he fixed that. They didn't congregate out there
Well,
anymore.
we had our inspection out of the jail here recently.
The jail's something else.
Well, and it was hilarious because they were gonna move somebody out of a holding cell. Now granted, we had 4 of our guys moving 1 guy, and the guy that was doing this inspection, I won't say who it was or anything, but got behind me. Stood behind me because it's scary. And I thought,
Yeah, I should protect me, Angie.
You do look kind of mean, though, I mean, you know.
oh my God, it was, I just looked at him and just started laughing, but.
When I went out there for the last visit.
Okay.
Some guy was simulating something to me, that he was gonna do something to me, and, he made sure it was very clear, put his face up to the glass so I could see what he was gonna do to me. I said, there's special guys in there. There's special guys in there. You
We
know,
have those issues with those people.
I've not had.
They're always very polite and respectful.
I wonder why
Yeah.
they're nice to you.
Yeah.
So I wonder why they're nice to her.
Because they want her
'Cause she-
to let her off, let them
Yeah.
off easy.
They
You
want
know,
her to
I
have
made
a
your
good
girl
day.
like, I won't put up with you.
They
There's a
buy
reason
her
why
candy
you're
and
where you
whatnot.
are and I'm
Don't
where I
make
am,
it just
so don't even get it started.
I wonder why they're so nice to me. So well behaved.
They are like vicious dogs.
Well, we're gonna wrap this up.
Yeah, I think that covers everything, is that right? Thank you.
All right, this conversation's turning. This
Thank you all.
conversation's turning.
Thank you all.
No doubt. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
for
you.
working out. All right, we're out.